Hey, welcome back to the Unbelievable Podcast. I am Bisi Reidell, back here with my guy, Drew Mahowald. And today, well, Vikings training camp has started officially. We're about a week into it, and all hell has broken loose. So, Drew and I will be spending plenty of time going over the recent vaccine developments with you here. We'll be kind of towing the line on that touchy subject, of course, but it has had a pretty significant impact on the Vikings organization, specifically Saturday night's night practice, which is, if you've ever been to training camp before, huge piece of training camp for the Vikings. So we'll be talking on the COVID quarterback, all the new guys that are coming in here. We got Sam Etling, Case Cookus, and Jackson Erdman as well, who Drew's a big fan of. And we'll touch on some other stuff here that's going on just throughout the Vikings training camp. It would be a lot more noteworthy, but Bisi Johnson, of course, tore his ACL, but with everything going on with Mike Zimmer and the team with the vaccination, that's kind of been brushed to the side. So we'll touch on that a bit. Dakota Dozier is still your starter. So we'll have some words on that. And then Oli Udoh also checking in a little bit and getting more treatment towards that number one spot, maybe at right guard and potentially at left tackle as of today. Wyatt Davis will check in with him. And there's a couple other, minor things here that we'll have to touch on at some point. So that's the game plan for today's show. But of course, like I said, we'll be focusing more on the quarterback situation and kind of what this vaccine and the polarization of the vaccine itself is doing to the Vikings right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because you have on one hand, it's just, I think the way the NFL has hammered down their protocols, for people that are vaccinated and not vaccinated, that's kind of the main reason I think for everything. I think that's why Zim has come out so aggressively about this. When he speaks to the media, I don't think it's anything to do with him. I mean, I think he is, obviously for the vaccine in general, for like the general population, but I think his real mindset is, I want to win. I want to have the best chance to win. Mm-hmm. And the way that these protocols are set up, the way the punishment is set up, if you are not vaccinated, is that it hurts my chances to win. And so that, I think that's quite simply the only thing that he has in mind right now. And that's why, and if you look at it, last year, the Steelers season was derailed because they essentially didn't get a bye week. There's plenty of examples last year. I think the Broncos may have lost a game because they had a wide receiver starting a quarterback. And that's essentially what would have happened to the Vikings if this had happened during the season. Right. So that's just a fraction of the reasons to, in terms of the football reasons to do this. And I think that's what Zimmer's going after here. That's he's talking about his football team having the best chance to win. And with the way these rules are set up, that's, you eliminate all those risks by getting it. So I think that's what he's mostly upset about. And I don't know if there's, in terms of the tension or the, whatever the case may be moving forward, I'm not sure about that part yet. But it seems like and then also we should note the Vikings, social media accounts are both very clearly kind of trying to make that suggestion to the players that maybe are against it as of now.
Okay, so a couple things first and foremost. I sort of said this at the top of the show, but of course this is a polarizing conversation just inherently, right? COVID-19, the coronavirus has been politicized to the point where a lot of people are very separated on this issue, and it's a very personal issue to a lot of people. I just want to point out right away, Drew and I are not here to politicize COVID-19. We are not here to talk about it in that way, but this has become it's affecting the Vikings organization in such a way that we do have to talk about this, unfortunately. Now, right and wrong, I'm not here to say that. I'm not going to argue freedom of choice. I'm not going to argue whether or not you should or should not get the vaccine. I'm not here to do that today. Myself, I'm vaccinated. That's where I'm at. You guys, that's as far as I'll go on that. As far as it relates to the Minnesota Vikings organization, I like the way that Drew set this entire conversation up. This is coming from the league down. So the league set the rules. So if you're going to be pissed at someone, be pissed at the NFL, because Mike Zimmer, in my opinion, and it sounds like in Drew's opinion as well, is basically hammering in, we got to follow the rules. Like, this is going to give us, if we follow the rules, we have the best opportunity to win. Now, Mike Zimmer has also made some other suggestions that, like he said, he would love to see the entire country get vaccinated. That's not what we're talking about here today. What we're talking about here is how this vaccination and the way that, players are a very high percentage of players, not just, regular individuals, players, athletes are against this vaccination, and how that is affecting the ability for the Vikings to win this season. That, in my opinion, is seems to be the greater concern as it relates to how the Vikings are approaching the situation. No one wants to be the guy to be like, you don't have the right to choose. No one wants to have that fight. We're not here to do that. But the way that the NFL has cracked down on COVID-19, the way that they have set it up, you guys have all read the rules, and you probably have been to some degree outraged by the rules because they are cutting back on your freedom.
I mean, they are extreme to me. I mean, they straight up like
as a vaccinated human being, I still see these rules as extreme. Now, the important piece here, and this is the point that everyone likes to avoid, is this is a private industry. They can do whatever the hell they want. You don't get to decide this. This is not a hindrance of rights or freedoms. This is, hey, we're private. We're going to make this decision for all of us. You either follow the rules or you get out. That's the situation that these players have to deal with. Is that unfair? That's for everyone else to decide. That's not for me. But the way that these rules are set up is that if your team is 98% vaccinated, which I believe the Buccaneers just said the other day, Bruce Arians came out and said they're 92% vaccinated, hoping to get even higher. You have a significantly better chance, straight up, objectively speaking, of winning the Super Bowl this year because your players are not going to be taken out by these new rules that are being employed by COVID. So above all else, the Vikings are straight up just concerned that their players are going to have to miss time as a result of COVID-19. If you test positive for it, you have to quarantine for longer. You know, there's significant changes, and especially at the quarterback position, which is where the heightened focus is now, because it just happened to Kirk Cousins, Kellen Mond, Nate Stanley, and you're stuck with just Jake Browning, who has to throw every single freaking pass at the greatest show for training camp. It's a bad look. The Vikings don't want that look, and they definitely don't want that to bleed into the season. Because what if Jake Browning has to start week 1? What if this situation happened, 3 weeks from now? That's a huge, huge problem for Mike Zimmer and his ability to coach this team to a winning Sunday.
Well, that's my concern as a fan. I mean, leaving the politicized part of it, out as best as we can. But the last thing I want is for Kirk or any of the, so-called, the most important, most valuable players on this team to have to miss time and for something that, in theory you can take care of in a matter of a few minutes. Right. So I think, and that's, and again, the difference in those protocols, vaccinated, unvaccinated, and then the punishments handed down for a team that has an outbreak, and the result of that is you could be having a forfeited game. So NFL is sending a pretty strong message there, and Mike Zimmer is simply echoing that message and saying the exact same thing to the media. Essentially, the NFL is stating to its personnel by sending those down. So, end of the day, that's my stance. Is I just want the Vikings not to deal with this midseason. If everything goes fine, and their Vikings don't, star players don't miss a game for COVID, there's no COVID related issues. Perfect. Just the way to get there. There's one way to do that a little bit easier than another way, and a little less scary as well.
Absolutely. So, this is a different situation than the one, for example, that's going on in Washington right now, where, Ron Rivera is just generally scared for his life. It's a completely different in a situation in Minnesota. Mike Zimmer is frustrated because he can't coach the football team to the best of his ability, which, granted, I'm also on the side of Ron Rivera, but that's neither here nor there. This is a situation for the Vikings where it's like, it's not necessarily even that Kirk Cousins is the best player, but he is definitely 100% objectively speaking, the most important player that is going to trot onto the field on Sundays. If you do not have him, your entire offensive game plan goes out the window. The entire thing. So if, let's say, he tests positive on a Thursday, league rules, he's out for games. Probably 2 games. Right. So that means that in 3 days, you've got to prep Kellen Mond, who, by all accounts, probably not ready to start in the NFL.
But it's not even just that, though. It's like has taken place here. It's the whole QB room, because of the close contact and all that.
This is best case scenario is Kellen Mond. Right. And then it could be Nate Stanley. It's looking like it's probably going to be Jake Browning, because I think
it could be Case Cookus.
Exactly. Which is this is how hilarious this has gotten. Thank God this didn't happen in the regular season, because it could be Sam Etling, who was just claimed off waivers from the Seahawks today, Case Cookus, who was brought in yesterday, and then Jackson Erdman, I believe, was either brought in on
he is not signed. I don't think they're going to end up signing him.
That's the St. John's kid that Drew is familiar with. So this is how ridiculous it's gotten. You just need bodies at this point. And
at the most important position
at the most important position, the position that is in theory helping the wide receivers, running backs, offensive line, tight ends,
basically everything on offense.
The entire offense get better as well. And your guy is gone. That's I understand the frustration. I think it's very fair for Mike Zimmer to be outraged. Has he gone too far is a fair question.
Well, because here's the thing, and I think this is another thing from Zimmer's perspective, and maybe this can kind of cap this conversation. But I mean, we've talked about this too. His job is probably on the line this year, right? Where the Vikings have kind of put all these 1-year deals in with these free agent signings. A lot of guys have contract years here on this team. This could be in a way a contract year for Zimmer too, where if the Vikings underperform, he's gone. They're going to start over, and it would crush me and crush him certainly to have something like this, happen once or twice during the season, where it costs the Vikings a couple games, and that's going to be the difference from a playoff run to sitting at home in January watching the playoffs. And I think that's what he is most concerned about is that it's like for him and nothing else matters besides winning football games. He wants to win, obviously for himself and his job, but also like he wants to win a championship straight up. That's just right? What he wants to do. He's got the heart, the passion. He wanted to coach with a single eye against the Cowboys when his other eye was surgically repaired a day ago or whatever it was in that Dallas thing. He's very clearly dedicated when it comes to winning. And I think in a way he's almost questioning that about his players because they won't do this. So it's all about winning for him. He wants to get that done. And he also wants his job to be safe. And in a way he sees this as A, jeopardizing the chance to win, B, jeopardizing his job security for the next 12 months.
So then the question becomes, is he going too far? Which that's going to be subjective, and I don't think either of us is going to answer this the same way that someone else is going to answer this. But, when you think about those two things, just from an objective standpoint, the guy wants to keep his career. He likes his career. He really likes his job.
Yeah.
He really likes his players. I think he's said it on a number of occasions that he would like to do this until literally he dies. So
he physically cannot anymore.
He can't do any more for Minnesota than he has. So I understand the frustration. I don't think he's going too far because I understand how outrageous this may appear to him. Right.
And again, it's like he said too, it was like he said something about, the things that these players read or whatever. And but then at the end, he kind of prefaced that with it's their beliefs, he's trying to, he has to walk that line of not infringing on beliefs of players while also trying to win. And so he sees this as a way, he sees this as making it more difficult for him to do his job. But it's, it's that thing where, freedom of speech, freedom of choice, freedom of religion, it's all there. And, you have to respect that. So I think, he is being very vocal almost too, and that's where the question is if it's too vocal and too upfront about it. But at the end of the day, he also has the freedom of choice, freedom of speech to give his opinion on something. And so we have to respect that too. So I don't know. It's always something with this stupid franchise, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's a frustrating situation because even as people who are just trying to talk about it, we're trying to, be careful and to walk that line and be respectful. That's our goal too. But I can't imagine it being in Mike Zimmer's shoes where it's you not just only are trying to respect your players, you're trying to respect an entire state where outside of the immediate Twin Cities, it becomes very polarizing. This entire subject does. So this is dangerous. I don't envy the position that Mike Zimmer is in trying to settle the waters.
The thing is, Zimmer, he doesn't care.
Thank God, right?
What what any particular Vikings fan, myself, you, anybody cares about. No, he'll do it. Obviously he knows the fans love the team and want the team to win. That's about all he cares about. After that, doesn't matter.
And thank God for that, because if he had any insight to this outside storm that's going on, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just crazy. It's a crazy time to be alive, and the quarterback situation is going to be fluid. It seems like for at least the next week or so, and we'll kind of figure out after that. But there's some guys in here that basically had no business being. This is the positive, right? Guys like Case Cook and Sam Etling, they had no business getting first, second, third team reps on a training camp squad this year. They're going to get ample opportunity to put stuff on tape for, maybe hook on with the Vikings long term, or stay with the.
It also goes to show the opportunities that are possibly available to someone, a fringe roster player that needs a team or
exactly.
whatever, if you are vaccinated, and vice versa. You know, if
I
you're
think
a fringe
Jake
player,
Browning won a roster spot by being vaccinated when he needed to be vaccinated. Seriously.
I mean,
I believe that. And we'll see come September. But I think that he is QB3 because he's vaccinated. Kirk Cousins, you can't cut. Kellen Mond, you can't cut. Why would you keep Nate Stanley? But right now, just honestly speaking, who's on the field, who's not? Like, who makes sense? It's Jake Browning. I think he won it by getting a shot. So
he also apparently, I mean, I didn't get to watch much of that practice. I wasn't there, but it sounds like he did really well too, given the circumstances. So
he took advantage of the opportunity too. That's an important point as well. All right. So let's get off COVID for a little bit here and talk about just straight football, which I think we all prefer anyways. Bisi Johnson is officially out for the 2021
that sucks
NFL
for him.
Campaign. Really sucks. Given kind of what we, the narrative that we drew up last episode with the wide receiver 3, D.D. Westbrook probably in line to be that guy, as we said. At this point, we don't have any confirmation there, so I don't even believe he's been on the field much outside of just kind of doing basic workouts and getting up to speed. But you got KJ Osborne now, who's now fighting for a spot. Bisi Johnson will, of course, be on the roster to start next year, but he's missing an ample opportunity here to compete with D.D. Westbrook, KJ Osborne. Seems like Smith Marset is also having a nice camp to start as well. This is a big loss for him. This sucks. Like, I mean,
it does.
There's no way around it. This just straight sucks. It's the worst part of football, getting hurt when you have an opportunity.
Well, this is the type of injury that for a guy in his spot, having kind of contributed to 2 seasons in a row here where, I mean, he was 7th round pick. So I think in a way he certainly has exceeded expectations in terms of the production and contributing to an offense that has been successful in the past couple of years. But he's still kind of a 3rd, 4th, 5th string receiver probably on this team. And this is the type of injury that can derail your entire career, which it sounds terrible to say that. But when you got the league is very fast moving. There's guys below him in the depth chart, Smith Marset. I think they brought D.D. in to kind of already sort of damper the hopes he had maybe this year. And then, it sounds like KJ Osborne made a couple of splash plays too, actually, on that night practice. So there's things change quickly enough to where if a couple guys emerge maybe, and suddenly camp comes around next year and Bisi is number 6 guy, odd man out looking in as camp begins. I mean, it changes that quickly. So that sucks for him, really does, because this was sort of an opportunity he had to step up, maybe even prove himself in camp. Hey, I'm actually better than D.D. Things like that were still a possibility. But now it's, he's kind of at the mercy of other players on his team and the other surroundings that, maybe I'm not on the roster next year.
The hope, of course, is that he comes back completely healthy. He's even better than he was before, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. And I didn't even mention that, the fact that he has got to recover well and still be able to cut and run and jump and catch footballs.
What I was going to say is there's a very real possibility that this is the last headline that Bisi Johnson ever makes, because like you said, 7th round pick, he doesn't have the pedigree, but he's kept himself in the league by playing good special teams and being, available when necessary and making a few nice plays along the lines. But this could be it. And that sucks because he has no control. His body failed him here.
I know,
There's nothing he can do more. And that it sucks. The positive being that
I hope this isn't the last we've heard of him.
I hope it's not either. On a personal level, that sucks. I hope that's true. From a team standpoint, it seems like the Vikings are able to recover from this one. Being that Bisi was a guy who had the potential to slide in at that 3 spot or maybe take away steps from Adam Thielen or Justin Jefferson for rest purposes at that X or Y, or X or Z, I should say. But I don't think anyone was expecting much out of Bisi this year. You can replace that production in theory if one of these other guys steps up. Yeah. And you've been hearing good things about Smith Marset specifically, is who I see a lot of. KJ Osborne has come on strong, is apparently more than a punt returner. I didn't even know that about him. It's nice to see that he's playing better at the wide receiver spot, because D.D. Westbrook is opening up the door for these guys as well right now by just simply not being ready to go, or ready enough to go to the coach's liking, I suppose. So interesting spot. Sucks to lose Bisi there, but it seems like the Vikings are ready to recover this time. This is why you have depth. This time you actually have a guy to replace a guy. So good thing for the Vikings to some degree, I suppose. Next piece here, Dakota Dozier, who we talked about in brief last 2 weeks ago, I think. I think we all kind of expected that he would enter camp as the starting right guard just because he was the incumbent. But I think
That's how
most
things
of
work
us,
for the Vikings. Yeah.
because that's how things work for the Vikings. But I think a lot of us also thought that by week 2-ish, we'd be starting to see someone overtake him or competing with that spot. There's been no news of that. It seems like as of now, week 1, it's going to be Dakota Dozier at guard, or right guard, I should say specifically. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm disappointed to some degree. I'm disappointed to some degree in Wyatt Davis, who is not, this kind of blends in with it, but he's kind of getting the rookie treatment as well, being moved around the offensive line and getting snaps at center and guard, which we all hate. But it seems like the Vikings like to blend their offensive linemen and make sure they understand what it looks like from each position, which I can understand to a degree. But Davis basically is making zero headway, and that has opened the door for Dozier to be the week 1 guy. And I mean, it's August 2nd right now as of this recording. I'm pretty confident that nothing's going to change based off of just kind of Mike Zimmer's strategy in the past,
I mean, it's early,
the playbook, etc. I don't know if anything can change. I don't think there's time, even though it is early.
It's early. I know that this was kind of a hot topic pretty much all of last season was Dozier starting, and it's not uncommon, right, to have. I mean, it seems like it's a popular thing every single year, really, where some Vikings offensive lineman is starting or getting all the snaps with the first team during the season. And, it seems like there's been another guy getting that chance. I know Brett Jones has been a popular guy the last couple of years. Like, hey, why isn't he playing? Why isn't he playing over this guy, over Dozier, or whoever it may be? But it's like, it's interesting that, he so it's Dozier, Oli Udoh is also getting guard reps. Mm-hmm. Mason Cole, they brought in, and then of course Wyatt Davis. But it's stunning, and I hope Davis gets more of a shot than this. And I'm not in the room. I'm not in the offensive line room. I'm not seeing the practices, so I don't know. But I don't know why Davis had an injury issue. So maybe that's part of the deal. His availability is, as we know, is a big deal. So
again, I hate to bring it up, but it could very well be a COVID thing.
So it's frustrating, and I get it, but it's that and Drew Mahowald are both they're still getting their reps, and they're still going to be hanging around. We might have to accept that.
So Oli Udoh, you brought him up. That's kind of a training camp highlight to a degree, I suppose. And when the Vikings kicked off training camp, I believe it was Rick Spielman who actually said it. That Udoh has done enough to earn himself the right to be considered part of the competition at the right guard spot. So that's where he started training camp. Now, just before we hopped on this recording, it was released that Udoh is taking snaps at left tackle. Now, if you remember, Christian Darrisaw still's not practicing, so someone's got to fill in there. But now we're seeing Udoh kind of moved around the line a little bit. This seems kind of like a feel-good training camp story. With all the kind of the negative energy that's going on around, this is a guy who has worked his tail off to go from a practice squad guy to maybe be on the 53-run roster to he's at a point now where it's maybe he might be a starter. It's not. This is true progression, right? This is development. This is something that you want to see from the Vikings offensive line staff. If this story works out, if Udoh becomes a starter and a capable starter at that, not a Drew Mahowald type starter, right? This is a big story for the Vikings offensive line coaches and the staff. And
right, I love that too.
The organization's ability to develop. Yeah,
I hope that happens. That'd be really cool. So I'm rooting for that to take place. And again, I think we'll learn some more. It sounds like he also is moving all over the offensive line too, playing basically every position besides center. So which is I know the Vikings have valued that, and maybe even to a fault they value that, where they get guys that can plug in at any position, but they're not any good at any position. But we'll see how that works out here. And with Darrisaw still hurt, he's getting left tackle reps now, and then it's just a lot of camp left, preseason games to watch left, so things can change. But it looks like he's a guy that the Vikings really like.
So the last other piece of news here is that Jeff Gladney still isn't practicing. We got a bit of an update on kind of what's going on there. It was not a positive update. Doesn't seem like he's going to be back anytime soon. So if you want to read more on that, feel free to engage yourself. But that's not. That's not really for us. Other than the fact that he's not
if
here.
if these charges are true, it sounds like things are.
Bury him under
he doesn't need to be on the roster, in my opinion. So
I'm with you there as well.
It sucks because you waste a first rounder on the guy, but that's I don't know if that's on the Vikings for not doing the homework, or if it's just ultimately it's on Jeff Gladney, but there's that's unfortunate for us fans who are trying to get excited about a guy that I'm sure Zimmer liked too, knowing that the way he played in college and things like that. But if that's the way, if that's behaviors are true, then yeah, I don't need to see him on the football field.
I'm with you. And I think most of the Vikings fan base, if not all of us, are with you on that as well. But anything else that caught your eye? I know Adam Thielen, and of course, and Justin Jefferson. They've done a lot of eye-catching stuff, but it's kind of par for the course. We sort of expected out of those two specifically. Anyone else that for you has been particularly intriguing, or maybe outperforming or underperforming relative to your expectation?
Well, in what I've seen, it's the routine. Danielle Hunter making a splash play. It doesn't seem like he's lost a step even after a year of absence. So it's good to see that. I'm still trying to catch a little bit more of that kind of battle beside or opposite Hunter for that defensive end spot. Looks like Juan made a couple of plays, but that'll be another one I'll be following here.
I thought so. The running back, right? The running back who I butchered his last name last week.
I still don't know how to say it.
I think it's Nwangu. I think that's the right way to say it. Again, if someone wants to correct me, please do if I'm saying it wrong. I would love to say the guy's name correctly. He's been extremely impressive from the media sources that I've seen. I know Ben Lieber just shouted him out earlier today. I have heard right from the start. I remember Jordan Reed saying he really liked that pick in the later rounds. This could be, a very solid backup to Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison. And we know the Vikings like to keep 3 running backs. We know that Mike Boone is gone. Looks like he's earning that spot. The other piece that I wanted to touch on, so with Jeff Gladney gone, that cornerback situation is, or I shouldn't say gone, but I'm going to work under the knowledge that Jeff Gladney's going to be gone. Okay. The cornerback situation becomes a little bit more interesting than it already was. I think we all know that Patrick Peterson's going to be the guy, the number one guy. He seems to have solidified that so far through camp, playing that position and playing it efficiently against, 2 very good wide receivers in Thielen and Jefferson. Behind him is what gets interesting. I've seen highlights from Mackenzie Alexander that made him look like he's having a great camp.
Very, very good camp. Yeah.
And Bashad
early
Breeland
on,
has
but no pads on yet,
bit.
but that's promising.
Right. You liked what you've seen so far from Breeland to a degree. That's a nice point that you bring up too, that there's no pads yet too. So to a degree, we can't even evaluate the performance of a lot of these guys because they don't even have that on. But I think that it's been funny to see Cam Dantzler's been on all the highlight videos with Justin Jefferson. So it looks like he's having maybe a not so great camp, but I'm curious. I want to see more. Also,
he's going up against Justin Jefferson.
That's my point.
I mean, how fair
I want
is
to
that?
see more. I want to see more from Cam Dantzler before I just, swung one way or the other. But he's really the only one that I've been kind of disappointed in the media that I have seen. Now, granted, I have not been at training camp. Drew has not been at training camp. We don't have his eyes on every little detail, but that's one thing to keep in mind is that cornerback room is going to be interesting now, and just to see how that ultimately develops. I think right now it's going to be Peterson, Dantzler, and Alexander with Breeland kind of in that flex role. That's what it looks like right now. But things can change there. And as we've seen in just a week of camp, things can change quickly. Roster depth charts can be moved. Who knows? A lot still to be had, but I think it's important that a lot has kind of already happened too. I'm ready to solidify some predictions that I have based off of not even practicing in pads yet, just kind of seeing, Mike Zimmer's reaction, the organization's reaction. Some of these things, these factors that have not been factors in the past are influencing these decisions. And I think that, a lot of these roster changes, a lot of these roster moves are going to be made with that knowledge. So something to keep in mind moving forward here. But I think that's about all we got here. Is there any last piece that you got for me? Any golf highlight or anything like that you want to share real quick?
I mean, well, I won the College World Cup this weekend. I don't know if nobody knows about that. I don't think you know about that even, but it's just a stupid
I like
buddies
to try to
trip
incorporate
that me and
golf
my
into the
buddies
show
have.
a little bit every once in a while.
Fair enough. I like that too.
Well, congratulations on that. I'd expect nothing less out of my knowledge of your golf game. So, all right. Well, that's everything we got here for today's show. So hopefully we towed that line well enough for y'all and, kind of got to a point where we can all have a rational discussion. That's the hope here, as always, with this show. So thank you as always for listening. iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, wherever else you listen to your podcast, we're available there as well. Make sure to check out Climbing the Pocket. Everyone on the team is producing content, whether that's audio, video, and written as well. So you can find that on the Daily Norseman as well as us. And then if you like watching us on video, you can see us on YouTube. We're available there. for your viewing pleasure, if you will. But that's all we got for you. So thank you for listening, and we will catch you guys next week.